Can you all hear me, everybody? Yeah, I think. I'm calling this meeting to order at 6:05. This is the monthly meeting of the Village of Fleischman's Board of Trustees, November 14. I'd like to begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Roll call. Yes.
Aaron is not here. Stuart?
Here.
Sam?
Here.
Winifred?
Here.
Jasmine?
Here.
Okay.
Okay. I want to add one item to the agenda. I want to add an item to the agenda just to announce information about the election to take place. The village election to take place in this room. Added at the end is number 8. Yes. For announcements, I'd just like to acknowledge and extend condolences to Vicky Zirko on the passing of her husband approximately a month ago. He has been a long time resident of the village of Fleischman's, and we express our condolences to the family.
Yes.
So moving on, we have minutes to approve from October 12, the last board meeting. Are there any comments or corrections to the minutes as circulated? Motion. I have a few editorial changes, no content changes, but to reflect in the minutes. Motion to approve October 12, 2022 minutes.
Motion to approve the minutes. October.
Second.
I second it.
Yasmin seconds it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We have minutes for the September 12th meeting, which were not previously approved. And we have corrections to item 7, which is the monthly reports for the month of August and for the financial reports for the month of August. I'm making that correction. A motion to approve these minutes.
Motion to approve minutes of September.
September 12th. Stuart, second.
I second it.
Let's see. Was that the meeting that you were not in attendance?
I read the this should be Jeff. Yes.
Yeah, Jasmine seconds it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. With corrections. The meeting of September 28th. And a motion to approve September 28th minutes.
Motion to approve the September 28th minutes.
And Jasmine, can you second that?
I second that.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. The public hearing that took place on September 12th regarding the Restore New York Round 6. We never closed that public hearing. Can I have a motion to close that public hearing?
Motion to close the public hearing
For September 12th.
through September 12th.
Yeah. Can we have a second? And has been seconded, all those in favor? Opposed, motion carries. Where's my agenda?
Go back
Oh,
to
here
mine.
it is.
This is a good one.
We have reports for the wastewater treatment plant and water plant operator for October. We have the code enforcement reports for the month of October and the financial reports for September 30th, 2022. And we have the list in front of you of the bills over $1,000, which require pre-approval. Any questions or comments on the reports that's circulated? No. So can I have a motion to accept all of the reports? So noted.
Motion to accept all the reports.
Okay. Can I have a second?
I second it.
And so, Gil seconds it. That's that. That's that. What's next? Oh. I want to report on our fundraising activities. Are you able to determine if Peg Ellsworth is on?
She is on.
She's on, Peg's on. Okay, so the last couple of months, we've been investing efforts in identifying fundraising opportunities to support the economic development and growth of the village. And we have for at least 4 prospective opportunities, and we've been focusing on the Restore New York program, which is now announced it's around 7. And it is consistent with the program of the round 6, which we were not able to advance at that time. And so right now we have the opportunity to submit 2 intents to submit an application, 2 intents to, what is the language? The intent to apply. So we are looking at a bundle of 3 or 4 properties, up to 4 properties on Main Street, which would include among them, we will include the community bank, 926 Main Street, which is adjacent to the theater. Adjacent to that is the former Griffin's Corner commercial property. We're looking at including the former Budside building, the large property there, including the Maxwell Theater in some manner as a standalone project, and we're looking to include the property next door, which we've been eager to have replaced and to remove that hazard and replace it with a viable structure. The Maxwell Theater appears to have a longer timeline because we need to create a stronger vision for what we see as a 7-digit application, 7 digits level of fundraising, and that will take a good bit more work for the steering committee to develop that vision and to put some legs under it before we can actually seek funding for it. So that may be a secondary opportunity. And part of the concern about the Maxwell Theater is that it's a project that's larger and more complex than can be handled by, and in my opinion, that's my opinion, but we certainly can talk about it, that cannot be handled easily by the Board of Trustees because it's not part of our experience for a large project of that size for real estate development. So what is being considered is a lease or sale to a nonprofit whose mission is to develop it as a community asset. So as we move forward, we want to consider that as a strategy that will strengthen our opportunity to fundraise. What we're experiencing is there's more experience with nonprofits doing this kind of development than municipalities, and funders tend to be more encouraged if a nonprofit which has a consistent and singular mission to address a development project of that size than a municipality which has a very broad range of obligations and is subject to changing composition of the board and changing views of what's appropriate. So that is a topic that we want to talk about, and I don't know if we're prepared to talk about it now, but I wanted to put that on the table because I think we need to have a real conversation on the board about whether that's a viable strategy, how we would go about that, and what the implications of moving in the direction of leasing or selling to a nonprofit whose purpose is to develop it as a community asset. Any comments or thoughts at the moment on that topic?
No.
Not at this time. Okay. So, so that Restore program is one initiative to build both housing and commercial development of Main Street. We also have an opportunity for commercial development with the Empire State Development Fund to support individual businesses for 20% of the cost of commercial development of retail businesses on Main Street. We also have an opportunity through the Homes and Community Renewal Program for ancillary housing, which is an intent to support a significant amount of funds to add on apartments to existing residential properties for the purposes of housing, of workforce housing. It's intended for the concept of mother-daughter houses, but I think that's a phrase that is often used. But there's funding up to $120,000 to add on a unit to an existing residential property for the purposes of housing. So these are activities that we are pursuing in conjunction with Peg Ellsworth. I want to make a comment on all of these the commercial development. One of the obstacles we're facing right now is the current zoning law restricts or requires any new commercial development that is not currently in force to provide on-site parking. And the parking district proposal that has been considered by the board is an important element of this, because any further commercial development on Main Street could not be entertained without relief from that parking limitations. So we have to come up with some approach, and the board has voted, has considered it, and has not supported it at this point. And so what I would like to do is to ask those who are in opposition to the parking district to come back next month with a alternative proposal or a supportive proposal and or a articulation of the what the problem is with the parking district. So all of you have voted in opposition to it. So is that something you're prepared to do? To come back next month at the design meeting to come up with an alternative proposal or the existing proposal. Or,
Sure.
so, yes?
Yeah.
Yes, so we'll have that on the agenda to consider the parking issue. That would be very, very helpful. Peg, do you have any further comments or corrections to what I reported about our meetings with you and the prospective developers?
Oh, Winifred, never anything more than comments, no criticisms here. Hi, Stuart. Hi, Sam. Hi, Jasmine. Hi, Winifred. Hello, audience. Just a couple of things you should know about the Restore New York program. What they're looking for is either a group of buildings or a standalone project that is shovel ready. That means that there is a business plan in place for a shovel ready project, or business plans in place for 2 to 3 to 4 buildings, 5-year performers. It's a heavy lift. And so I think at this point, there's opportunities there, but I with all due respect, think the theater isn't ready for Restore New York, as much as I personally would love to see that theater in use again. But that's okay. Patience is a virtue. The other properties, I intend to meet with those property owners via Zoom tomorrow and Wednesday. If anyone on the town council on the village council wants to join in, they're welcome to. I'm sorry, my cat is old and she's talking too. This is the first and foremost potential opportunity for Fleischmann's. It's going to be competitive, so it's important that Fleischmann's puts out its best foot forward and its most competitive project. So that being said, I would suggest that you guys authorize Winifred to submit the letter or letters of intent to apply. It's a non-bonding letter. It's just saying we're interested in the program and these are our projects. But know that you'll be invited, likely be invited to submit an application, but then you have to choose which one you're going to submit. And that's when the resolutions come into play and things like that. That will happen in December, but the timeline is as such. The letter of intent needs to be submitted by the end of November, the 30th, and then the full application is due by the 27th of January. So that's where we stand. And with that comes necessary advertisement of your proposed project and public hearing and things like that, the opportunity for a community to participate in the process. And we're willing to guide you through all of that to get it over the finish line into the funding agency's hands. But again, it's a very competitive program. And so that's where we stand.
Thank you, Peg.
Thank you, Peg.
Yeah.
Questions?
Questions?
No.
Questions?
No.
Okay, so I'm going to make a motion.
The Restore New York motion we'd like to present is to authorize Mayor Winifred Zubin to submit to the Empire State Development Corporation Round 7 Restore New York program 2 letters of intent to demolish, deconstruct, and/or rehabilitate, reconstruct vacant, abandoned, surplus, and/or condemned residential, commercial, and/or mixed-use buildings. And 1 intent to include a bundle of 4 properties on Main Street, and another intent to join for a standalone large project on Main Street.
If I could just make a suggestion, Winifred, if I could just make a suggestion that don't be so specific in your motion, because we don't know where it's going to land. But if the village board would authorize Winifred to submit either 1 or 2 letters of intent to apply, would be the best approach here.
So
And
you're-
because
Yes.
until we meet with these building owners, we won't know what letters of intent we're going to submit.
So we can go with authorizing the mayor to submit to Empire State Round 7, 1 or 2 letters of intent, period.
And then down below.
That's correct.
We'll take Main Street out. So it's not specific.
Right, so if we, just that first sentence would be sufficient to satisfy the funder?
The grant guidelines.
Yeah, the grant guidelines. So it would be to authorize the mayor to submit to the Restore New York program 1 or 2 letters of intent. That's it. Yes?
Yes, because absolutely, because projects develop differently. So we don't want to be specific before we know where these projects and these building owners want to go and what is the most competitive application you could put in. Is that okay with you, councilman? And
Okay with
That's fine. Yeah, okay, so it's
Plain and
just
simple.
that first sentence. And it's just recognize that we recognize that what properties we're considering.
Right. It's a placeholder we're putting in.
Right. Okay, so
Exactly.
all those in favor of that single sentence motion?
Aye.
I'd
I need someone who's making the motion.
like to make a motion to make this motion a single set motion.
As read.
That's right.
Correct.
I second that.
That's a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
That's what we jump in.
all right.
And
Yes, Meg.
just kudos to your village clerk for getting all of that. Bravo. Does anyone have any other questions for me?
Not at this time, no. Not me.
No,
Okay, well, you know where to find me, and my email is peg@markproject.org. So don't hesitate to reach out, anyone in the audience, etc. I'm here to help.
Thank you, Peg.
Thank you, Meg.
Thank you.
You're welcome to stay at the meeting if you wish. Okay.
I'm gonna stay for a little bit because sometimes questions come up after I'm gone that I can help with.
Okay, so skip this, Yasmin. Can you report on the topics we've discussed for the public spaces?
Well, I was working with Ben. You guys know Ben. We wanted to do in October of next year. We wanted to do a porch festival, and he was supposed to be here to kind of help explain it. I just we wanted to do like have like in each porch have a little activity, something here at the library. The whole village would close, kind of like what we do in the street fair, and that would be next October. And also we wanted to work on, I don't know if anybody in the audience would like to help me to plan different activities for the winter. So you guys can come talk to me after the meeting.
Well,
Can you comment on our discussion about dog control?
dog control.
We're having problems with dogs that are not on leashes. So I don't know if anybody has any recommendations on what to do with the people that don't want to have dogs on their leash. Like the one at the Warner, I think his name is, the one by the park where the dog is always loose. So I was thinking maybe we could just fine them until they do something. Or if, I don't know if you guys have any suggestions on how to,
Well, You're talking to the board.
yeah, because it's a problem.
Well, I think what we talked
That
about
was for public spaces, that you would contact there are 3 properties which have dogs which are frequently off the leash, and have you contacted them directly? I think before we set in motion expectations for violations of fines, we need to have a conversation with them. So have you made any contact with those 3 properties at this point?
No.
Okay, so if we,
I think it's not, it's, the biggest problem is during the summer, so if you can work on that and report back at next meeting, the results of conversations with those three property owners, that would be great. No, we gone down a lot of paths on this dog control because there was an incident during the summer where someone was injured as a result of an interaction with a dog requiring hospitalization, and that was very unfortunate. And it's also frightening for visitors who are approached by large dogs or small dogs when they're unfamiliar with Fleischmann's and they're unfamiliar with those individuals. So we've been in touch with the dog control officer in that's for Middletown. We've been in touch with the dog control officer for the town of Holcott and the dog control officer in the town of Shandaken, and have not found a solution with them. The problems are for us are a little more active than with the areas in Holcott where it's quite remote, more rural than in a village. And in Shandaken, their concern was, should they need to take possession of an animal, we have to arrange for the supervision of that animal. So this is for us to establish some more strict policies and enforcement rather than moral persuasion is quite complicated. It seems more than we can really handle. So we are going in the direction of trying to do moral persuasion with property owners, and then see how far we can get with that and proceed, because safety during the summer is an important element for us. So to be continued. Next item. We have, with regard to fundraising, we have received a grant award from the Environmental Facilities Corporation for $24,000 to support an engineering study in support of a wipes mitigation strategy in our sewer system. So this is it's a great thing because it's a problem that we have not found a solution for. That's not very expensive, and an engineering study usually precedes a large capital grant. So this improves our ability to provide to get in line for capital money to enhance our wastewater treatment plant, to manage the wipe situation in a more aggressive way. So that's great news. What's next? Oh, the pedestrian bridges. We have a resolution that was proposed at the County Board of Supervisors level that turns control and maintenance of those bridges, ownership and maintenance of the bridges, to the village. It's a resolution that asserts that at the date of that resolution, they became ours. There has been no official agreement, and it's a little troublesome that they would initiate a resolution which I don't. In other words, I don't think that the transfer has taken place yet, even though they have said the transfer has taken place. There's been no legal communication about that. We have observed that on the new pedestrian bridge, that already some of the knots in the wood have popped out that could cause further deterioration of the wood structure, the wood planking. So I want to, I've initiated conversations with the county DPW for them to either get the contractor back or for them to come and address those issues, because there are at least a dozen locations where those knots have actually popped out of the wood, which can create freezing and can create deterioration of of those planks, and could be a walking hazard. So that's where we are, but the maintenance of the bridge is another addition to the obligations of our village crew. Next item, we are proposing an enhancement to our personnel policies to provide for pre-tax payment of premiums on the health insurance policy. We provide full coverage for individuals, but only partial coverage for families, and it's self-pay for dental. So we're looking at authorizing and establishing pre-tax payment by individuals for that benefit for which they're paying. Right now, they're paying with their taxable money. Let's see, would you? So, if you can just read the salient parts of that resolution, motion. No, this is a resolution, because it would change our official policies of the village.
Okay. Yeah, and then the highlighted.
Whereas the Village Board of Trustees wishes to establish a plan to withhold health insurance deductions for employees on a pre-tax basis, and to amend the payroll practices and procedures for the trustees and employees of the Village of Fleischmann.
Okay, any questions or comments?
No.
This does not increase the expense for the village. It has the effect of benefiting the individuals who are participants. So a motion to accept the proposal, the resolution 011-2022. Can I have a motion?
Motion to accept resolution number 11-2022.
Okay. And a second?
I second that.
And Yasmin seconds it. Any comments, discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. So then we have, we are approaching the time when we need to pay our water bond in the amount of $52,000 to make a payment on that 40-year bond. And the timing of that large payment early in the year, we don't always have enough cash in the water fund at that time. So can I have you read the resolution?
So this is a motion. Once again, it's a motion,
Read the whole thing in effect.
or just the salient part. You can read the whole thing.
Whereas the serial bond of the water fund annual payment of $53,649 comes due November 2022, and cash balances of the water fund are insufficient to pay this amount when due. Therefore, be it resolved that the Village of Fleischmann's Board of Trustees authorizes the borrowing from the general fund of up to $10,000 to be repaid during the current fiscal year as cash is available.
Can I have a motion? A motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt this resolution number 12 dash.
Oh, okay, I've changed it to be a motion because it's not a permanent change to our policies. It's a motion to allow for a particular action, so it's merely a motion. For the second,
I second it.
Sam seconds it. Any comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. I want to report on developments along Fleischman Heights. There, as you cross Route 28 going up Fleischman's Heights, the road crosses a culvert, which is collapsing. And if you've been up in that area, you'll see that there are cement blocks there narrowing the road. It's a problem that's existed for well over 5 years, but has become more troublesome because the archway under the road is collapsing. So we've had 2 meetings and are continuing our discussions with Delaware Engineering, with the Delaware and Ulster Railroad, with who else is involved? Well, the New York State DOT is involved. Spillian has expressed an interest because it really threatens their property if that whole archway collapses. It's a historic archway, so there's a lot of that area could be a very interesting development in an enhanced area of architectural interest, that bridge and the properties adjacent to it. This initial estimates to correct the problem are 7 digits. It's $1 million project to do that. We are looking for money to stabilize the roadway right now, so that it doesn't deteriorate and create a closing of that street. Because the village of Fleischman's extends 200 feet up Fleischman's Heights, including a number of properties up Fleischman's Heights, as well as the Spillian property. So this is, in the last 6 weeks, has really entered into our active thinking, which has set in motion a larger expectation for collaboration and funding for this project. It's a complicated project because the village has responsibility for the roadway. We have an easement across properties, which includes the properties of the railroad. So we have a role. It's on the property of the Delaware and Ulster Railroad, and it's adjacent to New York State's culvert on Route 28. So there are 3 parties who have some responsibility, and nobody's budgeting. Well, we certainly don't have the funds to do it, and so we're working in collaboration with all parties to try to develop a strategy and plan to get this work done before it's too late. So I think so. We've now gotten to the last question about the. Do you want to announce the positions that are opening and make some announcements about the election? It's just the first paragraph.
Yep. Okay, for the upcoming March election, the Village of Fleischman's will have the positions of 2 trustees and 1 position for the mayor. These positions will run for a 2-year term from April 2023 till April 2025, and will be available on the ballot for the March 21st, 2023 election. To obtain a petition to run for office, contact me. And the first day independent nomination petitions for office can be filed is February 7th. The last day to file a petition is February 14th.
Thank you, Leanne.
You're welcome.
Yeah, that's coming up fast. Okay. So now we're in public comment territory. So I could open the floor to public comments. Let me start with Christine and then Yvonne.
Regarding the dog situation, is there anything currently on the village zoning or statutes or anything that covers dogs off leash?
Yes, there is a ordinance from 1978 which requires dogs to be on leash. There's some other language in there, but essentially that's the law, and we have not been able to enforce it. We have the sheriff and the state troopers are not prepared to come and enforce it, and they do not want to take possession of an animal that they have no means to manage that situation. And so we have not been able to enforce it. Yes, Yvonne.
I just wondered, is the public privy to knowing what permits were given out? Here and what they were for?
I think that's public information. I don't see why not. If you have specific,
Interested in what permits were given? and what
we can
were-
show you the schedule if you, after the meeting, if you'd like to look at the schedule. Yes. Public comments. Yes, Justin.
I can think of one if you need me to.
Justin, do you have, were you just
Yeah,
stretching?
I'm kind of curious on these bi-party, multi-party issues, state, county, town, village, and private property owners. Does anybody actually lobby the other organizations? You know, campaign for collaboration? Obviously, it's for the good of every party involved. They're just, no one wants to alter their budget to address that specific issue.
I think all of us are constrained with respect to the money that it takes to undertake this work. But we have an interest in maintaining access for properties in the village. People pay taxes for roads. The Delaware and Ulster Railroad wants to develop the freight depot and for a destination site. And if there's no road, it's the problem. And Spillian has a great interest because if we lose the road, there's no access to their property other than going up to Dry Brook, and that's not available during the winter. So the state DOT's position is if there's a problem with the road, we'll close the road. So there are different levels of interest. If your question is there ways that the public can advocate with any of these organizations, I don't think there's at this point a plan around which there could be advocacy. What we're looking at is how to raise the money through the infrastructure, the state infrastructure programs that's been announced through Hochul's office to raise the funds to do this work. So at some point that would become opportunity for advocacy or public.
What about lobbying our specific assembly people in the state assembly and other, congressional rep, et cetera?
We haven't pursued that. That's something we should think about.
I'd like to see more than thinking. I'd like someone to do that. So I'm asking the board consider that. It's getting a little aggressive. We're screwed if that lies fallow and we lose spilling, we lose business. Everybody that goes to Spillian sees the village, they'll come back if they experience good things, instead of, oh, we couldn't get there because their streets aren't getting, they're not maintained. So I urge aggressive next steps be established with a deadline for accomplishment of those steps.
Yes, thank you. Other comments? There being no more public comments, I close the floor to any further comments. We're always open for business if you ever come by the office and have questions or comments. And then I would like to have a motion to audit the vouchers.
Motion to audit vouchers.
Sam, we have a second?
Second.
Okay, audit the vouchers, and then a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay.
I second that.
A second, where's the second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you very much. Thank you all.
Thank you all.
Thank you, ma'am.